Greeting girls who print, and thank you for coming to a together as a community to celebrate International Women's Day and the importance of investing in women. As we embark on our 15th year of dedicated service, the Girls Who Print mission to help empower the women of print around the world through education, events, networking, visibility, community building, and mentorship has never been more important. Our women only Girls Who Print LinkedIn group has grown to almost 10,500 members from around the world, and our industry influence gets stronger every year. The sixth annual Girls Print History Month initiative is underway. We have more than 100 Girls Who Print who have invested their time to share their personal and professional investments that they have made to further their careers and navigate to business success. The posts are on the Girls Who Print site. Sandy's going to drop some links into the chat. Please engage with the posts that you see on our social channels. Search for and follow the hashtag Print History Month to find them across social media channels, and include the hashtag Girls Who Print when you engage and help create even more visibility for the women of print around the world. The site has almost 22,000 page views over the last 3 weeks. So let's keep it going because visibility matters. The Girls Who Print mentorship program is active and growing. It's free, and you can sign up as a mentor or mentee or both at girlswhoprint.net. Kelly Malazzi is helping us make matches, so watch for her emails and calls and answer her. Girls Who Print is also hosting a live conference on Wednesday, May 8th, co-located with America's Print Show in Cleveland, Ohio. Info is on the site. It's an all-day event. Sandy's going to drop a link in the chat. Please join our mailing list if you visit the site or click on the link in the chat for updates and news on all of our endeavors and events. I want to thank our 2024 Girls Who Print sponsors, Canon Solutions America, Creative Squirrel Studios, Domtar, Graphic Wizard, Kelly Malazzi, Success in Print, Landa for the first time. Yay, Landa. Millcraft, Mamaki Europe for the first time. Thank you so much. Matera for the first time. Rico, specifically USA Graphic Communications. Stephanie Gadden from Rockin' Rose, Specialty Print Communications, and Beatrice Touvonnet from the Tam Tam Agency. Please support the companies that support Girls Who Print. Their support makes events like this possible and keeps them free. Connect with them on social, give them some love, a shout out with the Girls Who Print hashtag. It really matters. Please reach out to me to sponsor Girls Who Print and our endeavors in 2024. It's important, and it's important for the future of print. I actually just put up a little donation button on the site. So if you want to contribute anything to our events or purchasing buttons for women around the world, that would be much appreciated. Please use the chat, introduce yourselves, say where you're from, put your link to LinkedIn in there, comment and converse. This is your community. Immerse yourselves in it. Our 2022 Girly Award winner, Sandy Hubbard, is hosting the chat and is also our official Zoom door opener today. Connect with her and take a trip to Sandyland. You will not be disappointed. Thanks for your attention. And now let's begin our investment era. In the printing industry, where men have traditionally held the reins, it's essential for women to recognize the power of investing in themselves, both personally and professionally. I've had the privilege of working with many women who have skillfully navigated the industry. And what I've learned from them is that success is not just being competent. It's not just about being competent or working hard. It's about being strategic and intentional in one's career investments, making deliberate choices and dedicating resources, whether that's time, energy, or money, to improve ourselves personally and professionally is what this is about. Taking ownership of our career trajectory and actively shaping it rather than just let it happen to us and unfold passively. In a male dominated industry like printing, where women are often the minority, investing in ourselves becomes even more crucial. These investments are about building resilience, confidence, and a robust support network to navigate challenges and seize opportunities that come our way. Recognizing and embracing your inherent value and worthiness, regardless of what others may think or say. With that, let's get started. Starting with one of the first people I met in the printing industry, Pat McGrew. Please introduce yourself, share what you do, and share how you have invested in developing your personal brand.
So, hey, folks, I'm Pat McGrew, and I've been doing things in print since I was 13. If I'm honest, I spent time working in a print shop that had been around from the 1700s. For those in Europe, I realize that's not long ago. But it was at the time, it was a really cool thing because I knew nothing at all about print. My life's goal was to be a writer, and that was the trajectory I was on. But a funny thing happens once you get exposed to the print industry. It kind of sucks you in, and even when you try to leave, it gets you back. And so I come at print from a more technical side. RL, I'm not an engineer by trade. I'm really a writer by trade, but I came at it through developing very technical systems that are part of the print industry. So I had jobs after I was a TV news reporter and a magazine editor. I actually ended up working in companies that were developing the original variable data systems. At that time, so we're talking 80s at that point, um, it was funny. There were a fair number of women that I worked with. We were not in the software part of the universe. There didn't seem to be as much prejudice against women coming into the industry and contributing to the industry because, in a lot of ways, computer systems were very new. So I grew up in an era. I came back into the print industry in an era where I didn't have a great deal of difficulty finding acceptance in the training side and in helping inform variable data systems. Where I found prejudice is when I left that company to form a software company of my own. And it was time to go meet with potential partners and vendors and suppliers, at which point I had to learn to take a couple of steps back in the beginning. I wrote as PC McGrew, not Pat McGrew, right in the very beginning, because even signing contracts, everyone would look to my business partner, who was male, and assume that he was the president of the company, the CEO of the company. I was CEO and president, chief bottle washer as well. So I had to learn to navigate all those things. So in an attempt to sort of shorten the story, I learned to walk a tightrope. And I think probably we all do that to some extent. You figure out how to pick your battles when it's time to stand up and say, hey, I'm here, look at me. I'm the one you're doing business with. And when to take a couple steps back, let the business sort of happen, and then reinsert yourself. And it becomes a little bit of art, a little bit of science, and a little bit of being really visible. So if you knew me in the 80s and 90s, I was one of the ladies in leather, because everything I wore, I had the leather business suits, I had the whole thing. I had heard the stories of the only way to get ahead as a woman were blue suits, white shirts, and little bow ties. And I couldn't do that. That is just not me. So I took slightly different direction and did leather power suits. Over the years, I sort of set those aside as I became better known. But having something that sets you apart can be a really important thing. And Deb, your glasses and your hair are the best well-known things in the print industry, right? Anybody sees you, they know exactly who you are and where you're going from. I don't have quite that specific piece, but I think in certain pieces of the industry, I'm known as being somebody who can speak technical, I can speak marketing, I can speak sales, and I can speak core business values. And developing those four vectors has made me more valuable to the clients I serve. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Don't be a single issue person, be a multi-issue person, because that's what makes you more valuable.
Thank you so much, Pat. RL, please introduce yourself, share what you do, and how you have invested in developing your personal brand.
Uh, I'm a print and packaging engineer having 2 decades of experience. Uh, that's my introduction. That's my designation, what I am having today. But printing is not my choice. I didn't get any seat, any engineering. This was the one I got, and that is the reason why I got into. But I was academically, I was a rank holder, but still I didn't get this. I just missed it with 0.6 mark system. So I had a dream like whatever I'm getting into, I should become like a person in that, to top person in that. When I entered, I didn't have any knowledge about printing. But the first session when I had it in the engineering college, like the institute where I studied, I decided to continue the degree here in the same industry. So when I was completing, I didn't have any such plan that what to do after 10 years or 20 years. I had only one dream. I should never get away from this industry. Whatever the problems I'm going to be in future, I should not sit idle, or I shouldn't have a long career back. That was the only thing in my mind when I was 21. Didn't have much aim or other things in that time. But when I heard about 2004 Truba, that is the turning point. I heard about the global connectivity, global industry in the printing, and then I decided I had a aim. I should become a continent head for one continent head, and I should continue that for 7 continents, at least for 1 or 2 years. That was the biggest aim during that time. Later on, it has been added with 2 more after 5, 6 years back. I should get involved to any research and technical side, and should create something in the machinery and get a copyright. It's still under progress. I didn't even initiate anything in that subject. One more is I should develop a platform where I should have a global subscription with a lower, it's completely service oriented. These are all the three latest stage it has been developed in me. But how I have achieved or how much I have passed through, not even 30-40% right now. So when I'm turning back my career, how I have reached this, then I could see that I wish to be a dynamic personality and a unique person wherever I am in or whichever segment I am in. I was in. So when everyone prefers to be, most of the female or male, pre-press, I chose press. That's my first bold decision, I can say. I was commented it's not good for a female. No, I will go and live in that. So everyone is choosing free press. Let me go to press. Let me see what is the problems in that. And I was working like a machine operator, and I got wherever I do, I put my 100% dedication. Whether the result is coming good or not, I don't bother. I just put my effort. That's it. So that's the one. And second is basically I'm a detail oriented person. That may be a reason for I am getting into more technical. Whatever you say, I'll go in depth. What is that? What is it? Just I don't put schedule. I just don't speak. I'll get preparation. I'll get into detail. Like if you ask anything, I should be able to answer. So I will be doing multiple degrees wherever I was getting opportunity. I am a printing engineer. I am a packaging technology person. I am a financial master degree person. I have a Japanese language, Hindi language certification. Like that, I was still learning. That is my passion. Like you can get it through experience. That's one side. But I need everything in detail. I want to know everything, proven record, data oriented person. Third one, if you ask me, like my working style, challenging tasks with convincing plans. I don't go to a same profile to the next company, next profile. It will be changing. Started with the operator, continued as a customer service, then QC, then production, then project management, then operations, then packaging development. Now as a technology and strategic planner, added with Girls Who Print regional director for the extent. So wherever I enter, I will not have prior experience. That's my uh, uh, that is a task I put myself. I will again a fresher. If whatever I do next, then I'll become a fresher. Then I start from the scratch, and I love to do that. Then
Okay.
one
We're getting a little long. So as I said to everybody, I'm not gonna be rude, but I do want to keep it moving. Sandy has really done a great job of pulling out some of the things that you've said. And it seems that to summarize what you've said, your personal brand was making sure you could answer questions about anything anybody asked in any room that you entered, knowing that so that you could be thought of as an authority. And I think that is really, really smart. Karis, please introduce yourself, share what you do, and share how you have invested in developing your personal brand.
Sure. Hi, I'm Karis. I'm Karis Kopp. I'm the owner and managing director of Karis Kopp Media, which is a PR and communications agency specializing in print and adjacent industries, and helping those businesses to tell their stories and connect with their audience. And how do I invest in my personal brand? I think it's definitely something that's still a work in progress. And I think one of the big things for me is that confidence issue, and even, stepping up and taking charge and saying, I am going to invest in my personal brand. I am going to build that and make that space for myself. Put your views out there, be yourself, like you were saying, Pat, having that something that's, you're authentic, you're sharing your views and your opinions and making yourself heard, and not being apprehensive or shy about shouting about your strengths and shouting about your achievements and your accomplishments. I think that's really important, and I think maybe holds some people back, and definitely has held me back in the past from really, building that brand and building what I want for myself in the industry. I think particularly for women, that's something that traditionally we maybe don't do as much. We kind of think, oh, we have to be modest and we have to be humble about these things, or women that are proud and vocal are maybe thought of as, arrogant or something, in a way that maybe men aren't as much for if they do the same thing. So I think that's a big part of it, that confidence and that self-belief, which is, again, still something I'm working on. I'm not saying it's like I said, it's a work in progress, but I think that's really important. And I think the other thing is investing in my own professional development and making that time. I do want to grow in my position and my abilities and move forward, as well as growing my business. And I think when you are either running a business or working in your specific role, it can be hard to see that big picture, because you've got so much going on day to day, and you're bogged down in all those details and what needs to be done right now. But if you want to move forward, and you do have to invest in yourself and find that time. So I'm really making that conscious effort to, if there's webinars I want to attend, like everybody that's come on and listen to this session today, you're investing in yourself and something you want to do, and your network. When I'm sure everybody's got other stuff that they need to be doing as well, in their role, but you're making that time. And I think that's so important. Articles you want to read, courses you want to take, events that I want to attend. I think investing in that is investing in yourself and your personal brand.
Thank you so much, Karis Kopp. Ayanfe, have you gotten your video to work, or at least microphone? Okay, we will move to Suchi, who I believe I saw popped in. I think is Suchi here? Anybody see Suchi? No?
She was, but now I don't see her.
Okay, let's luckily we have lots of panelists. Let's go to Kelly Malazzi. Kelly, what do you know? Kelly,
Hey, everybody.
let everybody know what you do, and please share how you have developed your global personal brand.
Absolutely. So my name is Kelly Malazzi. My company is Success in Print. I just celebrated my 30th anniversary in the printing industry, which is wild to me. Wild to me since I'm only 27. How does that math work? I have sold printing. I have been a sales manager. I've sold production equipment. And for the last 14 years, I've had my own consulting practice. I do lots of coaching. I am, by the grace of working with girls who print, have made some absolutely amazing connections in this industry. And there's one person who I don't think is on this call, but Marilee Clark is really helping me to kind of zero in on some of the things that I really want to focus on for my personal brand for the future. And I'm discovering kind of new things about myself, even after all this time, that I really, in terms of investing in myself, putting myself in the room, right? Attending the events, talking to the people. A couple things I want to reiterate that RL talked about. Ambition is a tremendously powerful thing that we all need to harness in terms of figuring out what that horizon is. Who do we want to be? What do we want to accomplish? How do we want to be remembered? For me personally, that is really grappling with my imposter syndrome. What Karis and Pat both discussed, confidence. We don't have to go out there and get the validation from anybody else, right? Being able to embody that confidence that we know what we're talking about. We deserve a seat at that table. And as Deborah always says, if you don't get a seat at the table, make your own damn table. Right? That is super important. So we have so many questions to get to. I don't want to talk anymore because we have so much to cover. So thank you for having me, Deborah. Thank you for being my number one mentor, and for having a lot to do with my success in my career. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. I believe Suchi just came in. Suchi, if you can turn on
Sorry,
your.
I'm a bit
It's
late.
it's no problem. Thank you so much for joining us. Know that you were flying home from India recently, so and you're in California, so we really do appreciate that you've made this time. If you can please introduce yourself, share about what you do and how you have invested in your personal brand.
Sure. So my name is Shuchi Sarkar. As Deb mentioned, I've spent a lot of time actually recently. Somebody has been asking me, how would you describe yourself? And I kind of say I'm a marketing nerd. I just love marketing, and and it's everything that is my passion. So I know I'm answering the question in a slightly reverse manner, but it's the easiest way to introduce myself, which is to say that I'm a marketing nerd. Spent most of my time in marketing, working at HP. Before HP, I was for a few years in Motorola. I then left HP to join a startup. So it was like a completely different thing from a very tech-oriented background into a biotech startup. And then I went to AWS, working on global marketing, leading segments in AWS. And I just moved my job actually earlier this year to work for a company which has roots and origins in India called LTI Mindtree. They're in the technology space, and I'm their global CMO. I did that more out of personal reasons. Basically, I wanted to get a job with a company that allowed me to travel back to India with aging parents. Unfortunately, I just lost my dad, and so the reason why I moved jobs was basically so I could be with him and mom much more. But at least mom is still there, so whatever. In terms of investing, and I've worked in all parts of the globe, in every part of marketing, whether it is consumer, B2B, retail, PR, brand, communications, customer marketing, just every part of marketing across the world. I've lived and worked in Europe, in Asia, and now been in the Bay Area for the last I think about 11 years now. Um, I think, there used to be a very brilliant CMO at HP. I believe he's joined HP back again, called Antonio Lucio. And I remember Antonio once asked each of us to work on our personal brand. It's the first time I heard somebody mention, what's your personal brand? You never, at least for me, I had never thought about it in that manner. And when I sat down to think about it, um, what did I really want to be remembered as? What was my legacy? What was I wanting to be? Who did I want to be? And I sat down and wrote some phrases, and I found they were very cliched. And then I looked deep within myself, and I felt, yes, one of the things that I totally adore is marketing. It's my passion. And so, wanting to be known as this marketing nerd was something that I clearly identified. But more importantly, I wanted to be remembered as someone who is authentic and genuine, someone who truly cares for and connects people, because that's very core to who I am, what I am. And so that was another thing that I identified as my personal values, which is authenticity, connection, caring for people, as well as being somebody who's innovative and a risk taker and tries to do different things. So those were all the personal brands, my own brand that I thought is what I want to create. And in everything that I have done, whether it's been career changes, whether it's been my leadership style, whether it's the way that I lead a team or I interact with people, or the way that I function, or the organizations that I've joined, the mentorship that I do, I've always tried to make sure that I can further these brand values. And how do you do that? I think it's a combination of, how do you actually come across with people? How do you, what are the kind of learning and self-improvement? What areas do you invest in? And just the choices you make in terms of the way you interact, the way you learn, the way you come across, what are the things you want to be known for, what the kind of brands you create, what are the kind of initiatives you create, all of that leads to creating your own personal brand, right down to the kind of way you post on LinkedIn, what content you post, what do you do on Medium, which forums you go to, where do you go to. I've come here to this forum because another thing that's really important to me is diversity and inclusion, and being able to create a space that is safe and where we can all afford to be vulnerable and share our failures as much as our successes. And so coming to this forum which had women of very diverse nature, it's very inclusive. Deborah's self is very much like that. I felt that this would be a great place which would further who I am and what I want to be. So I know I was supposed to be really crisp as per the note that I got from Deborah yesterday, but I felt like this is the most important question where we're all trying to answer, who are we and what do we want to be remembered as?
And I am very glad that you took a little liberty with my note. When I think of personal brand, you are one of the first people that I think of, because you have always been so deliberate about your moves, the time, the length you stay in positions. I love the story you told at a previous Girls Who Print event, where you took you took what essentially was a lateral move and a little move down to work in a startup division of HP, so that you could learn how to market with no money versus marketing with a global budget, so that you could be flexible and valuable to anywhere. And it turns out your next move was to a startup, so that became very interesting. It's also has been always fascinating to me that you have sort of set a time frame for each position that you will have, and always looking to acquire the skills for the next thing you want to do, and moving that personal brand so people recognize you for the things that you want to, the accomplishments you have, and the things that you want to be recognized. So You're a shining example, Suchi, of everything that investing in personal and professional development is. And I just want to thank you again for joining us today. I know it's a difficult time for you, but we really do appreciate it. Ayan, did you want to say something else before?
No, I was just about to say one thing, which is as women, sometimes we tend to be, you know, we tend to undersell ourselves. We don't, we're not always proud of who we are and our achievements. We are over humble at times. I'm guilty of the same. And I don't think we want to be people who are always boasting about our achievements or be really arrogant. But I think being self-confident about who we are and what we've done and what we've achieved is equally important as much as it is to be humble and
That's a
not,
good point, Megan.
yeah, but it's important to have a voice.
Thank you so much. Ayanfe, I think we have your microphone, no video, but microphone's okay. Can you hear us?
I'm here. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you please introduce yourself? Let everybody know what you do and how you have invested in developing your personal brand of the Billionaire Printer. You actually have a personal brand.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you all for joining this evening. My name is Ayonfe Oluwaibitoye, and well, they call me the Billionaire Printer, and it has been an established brand for me, right? Thank you. It has been an established brand for me over the years. I started printing quite a long time ago, about 16 years ago. And I have been in the industry for quite a while. I started off as a corporate branding person. I do majorly designs, right? I do design for corporate brands, growing up, SMEs, and also personal branding for people, right? So I started out as a personal branding person. I do that for people. Then I grew into doing print and branding for companies, right? So growing up with my personal branding, I wouldn't say that I've gotten to where I want to be. I'm a work in progress because personal branding is a progressive thing. It's not just something that you lay hold on at once and you get to figure everything out. It's something that is progressive. You do it gradually. You unveil yourself to people on a new dimension. When you get a new knowledge, you share it out to people, and people have opinions about what you have learned. A lot of people have opinions, but while you are building your brand, there are things that you wish you knew some months ago before you said it. That's how personal branding is. So we are working in progress, but I share my knowledge with people through my podcast and sometimes on my social media. Right now, I'm a bit on pause on my social media for some personal reasons, but um, um, that is where I share my knowledge with my podcast, with my social media, and our website, the business website, and I also have a personal website where you can get to know more about me online. Then physically, I try as much as possible to go to more conference, network with people, talk to people so that I can get acquainted with them, to know them more, and they get to know me more. I think I answered your question well, Deborah. Thank
Yes,
you.
and thank you so much. And as I mentioned before, Ayanfe has stepped up. Originally, it was Girls Who Print West Africa, but it grew so quickly that we are now Girls Who Print Africa. Ayanfe is the regional director, and you will hear more from Ayanfe and RL as we go on through the year. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad your internet is cooperating now. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I have a bunch of questions for the panelists, and I have divided them up so everybody can answer a few questions. This is when you can also, everybody who's here can write comments and questions in the chat. We'll get to it after the panel discussion. I'm going to start off, Kelly, I'm going to actually ask you first. What does professional growth mean to you, and how do you invest in it?
You know, it's interesting because I think there's an internal answer to this and an external answer. And the external answer is your reputation. A number of you have mentioned being a work in progress. I think that I know Karis mentioned that, and Ayanfe mentioned that. You know, I think it's always about understanding kind of what your identity is and who you're trying to serve, quite frankly, because that, to me, that's all I ever think about is who's in my community, what do I bring to the table, and how can I help people? So to me, the measurement of that is, am I being invited to speak at different events, and are people seeking out my counsel? That is extremely important. I'm grappling a lot with the idea of offering advice before it's been asked for. That's kind of a new thing for me. And so to, you know, to make sure that all of my messaging is consistent in that, you know, during early days of the pandemic, I started doing weekly videos, and I'm constantly asking myself, you know, is what's going on inside of my own brain going to be consistent with what people out there in the world need to know and are interested in knowing more about? So that's kind of the question I'm always asking myself is, you know, what do I have to say? How, you know, and how can I help people? So I hope that's what's coming across, is that, you know, I want to be invited into spaces where my viewpoint is valued, and that people are actually, you know, interested in hearing about it, and also being very, very open to what other people have to say, because if I'm not learning something new, I feel like it's kind of a waste of time. So I'm kind of always, I'm a very naturally curious person, so I'm always trying to learn something new and figure out how I can apply it to my practice and how I can apply it to helping others. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Ayanfe, what does professional growth mean to you, and how do you invest in it?
Okay, thank you. Professional growth is like when you, I like to use analogy a lot. I think everybody's comfortable with that. So it's like you growing a new plant. When you are growing a new plant, if you do not water it, the plants will die, right? So there are some plants that can stay alone without water. Yes, I understand. But there are a lot of plants that without you watering it, it's going to die. And if you are not learning by the day, that means you are heading towards death. That's how natural life is. You have to keep learning every day. You know, how can you use this? You can learn from, and okay, I have a mentor that always says that you shouldn't learn alone from the people doing the same profession as you. You should learn from the banking industry. You should learn from the lawyers. You should learn from every sector, so that when there is a problem, you know how to critically analyze and know which wisdom you should use for that moment. All right. So you keep learning from different uh, places. Even when you are at the bus stop trying to catch a bus, you can learn something from the commonest things, right? So personal learning and growth is very, very, very important to our business, so that you won't be obsolete and go instinct without growing, right? So that's it for me. I keep learning every day, going to conferences, reading books, applying for maybe a LinkedIn course. It's just a short course that won't cost you nothing, you know, and that has actually really, really helped me. That's how I even got to know about Girls Who Print in the first place. I was listening to the podcast, the print Mediaverse podcast, I was listening to it, then I had in mind that I must get and reach out to Deborah Con. Then we got talking on LinkedIn. That was how I got to know about Girls Blueprint. So learning and continuous learning will get us into not just personal growth, it gets us into exponential growth that we can not even think about, because you get to meet people. I've never met you guys before, and it was a personal learning that actually got me into this community, and I'm thankful for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, nothing makes me happier knowing that things I put out in the world bring people like Ayanfe into my world. So thank you so much.
Right. Thank you.
Patricia McGrew,
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
share a specific instance where a personal investment, time, effort, money, however you want to define it, contributed to your career growth?
I think the biggest change that I made happened in 1999. At that moment in time, my business partner had decided that he no longer wanted to co-own a software company, and it was time to make some big decisions. Do I try to go on without him? He was the software architect. That was going to be a little tricky. Do I try to find another partner to replace him? He was kind of irreplaceable. So we sold the company, and it is tempting to say, oh, well, you sold the company, so you don't have to work anymore. And that's not what happens when you sell a company. Not sometimes it does, but that was not what happened. And while we did okay, my thought was I put all that money away for my son to go to college, right? That was more important to me. And so then what was I going to do? And I decided to take a left turn and go into market research. I had bought market research for years, but I had a lot of opinions, but getting into an organization where market research was structured, it had to be very precise, very disciplined, taught me a whole new set of skills, and I use them all today. So it was that decision to make that leap over into pure market research that taught me a whole lot of analysis skills, reminded me of a lot of the math that I forgot, reminded me how to play spreadsheet jockey, and leverage those skills to actually understand what print-oriented businesses needed. It was market research in the print industry. And that leveraged me into my next job, which was then working as a global evangelist for a print management services organization who were empowered to try and make print more efficient. And that brought me back to my workflow roots. So it's been a series of circles, but that kickoff was that 1999 decision to sell the company and not be a software CEO anymore.
Thank you so much. Karis, I'm sorry, Suchi, can you share a specific instance where personal investment contributed to your career growth?
Yeah. You know, one tends to look at training, at least for me, I used to think of it as a big bore. Oh my God, now we have to go to another training. It just meant, you know, shutting off. And when you came back, tons of emails, tons of work pending. But I remember, you know, there was this course that in HP that I was invited to in Aspen, and it was actually led by the Aspen leadership team. And they do these most incredible leadership survey trainings, which are a week long, and you have no access to phones and you have no access to computers, and it's very immersive. And I was very hesitant before going. There was tons of pre-work to do. How am I going to live without a phone and a computer? Or I'm going to come back to tons of work. But I actually made that investment of a week. You know, after much ado, I spent a lot of time thinking about the pre-work I had to submit. And when I went there, I just immersed myself in the 5 days that I got there. And I don't think I have spent 5 days more better than I could have done there. I learned so much about leadership, about improving one's own empathy and compassion, and how do you, reflect back on things you've done and the lessons you take from there, and how do you actually become not just a better leader, but how do you become a better person? How do you become a better mother or a better friend or a spouse or just a human being whose path is to, help make this world a better place? How do you become a better friend? How do you support people? How do you react in situations which are negative or positive? So it was a huge investment from my side, only time, honestly. The rest came from HP, but I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And if ever any one of you have the opportunity to go to any of the courses that Aspen Leadership Team does, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that. Those lessons are with me today. And the stories and those lessons that I learned, anytime that I speak about them in my interviews or anywhere else, they touch people so much because they're really life lessons more than just career. They're really life lessons.
Thank you so much, Suchi. Karis, can you share an experience where investing in resilience and adaptability helped you overcome a significant career setback or challenge?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my career has not been without ups and downs. I'm sure lots of us can say that. I think definitely starting out on my own, going from a role to starting out on my own, which in my case was going freelance, which was what has evolved into my business today, was difficult. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do, and it also closely coincided with the pandemic. So I'd gone out on my own, and then a few months later, boom, it's COVID, which is difficult. And there's no family riches, unfortunately, to be falling back on. It was a struggle to stay motivated, and also just I struggled to pay rent, to pay bills, to do all the things that we need to do. And it was really difficult. And perhaps an easier thing or a more sensible thing would have been to look at going back to a salaried role and look for that stability. But I knew that I didn't want to do that. I think that's almost as important, knowing what you really don't want to do as what you do want to do, because I knew I didn't want to go back to working for somebody else. I knew that I had this vision for what my working life would be like and my personal life. They're so linked. We know now post COVID there's more flexibility. Look at going back to having to be in the office all the time. If you now have that flexibility, you have a family. It's crazy that we didn't have this kind of flexibility before in a lot of cases. So I think that investing in that mental investment, I guess, in myself, and self-belief and resilience to keep going when perhaps the thing that may have been better would have been to look for that a stable job, I think is really key. So it helped me make it through, and now I'm doing what I love and really trying to grow that and keep going and keep moving forward. And I'm so glad that even in that time when you bogged down by financial difficulties and those kind of struggles, that you keep going and you adapt and you think, this is where I want to be. What do I need to do to get there? And I think as well, just on that, I think building up that professional network has been so important to that. I 100% would not have made it through that if I hadn't been investing in the context I already had, the relationships that I already had. Groups like this certainly wouldn't be here with that. So that's what comes to mind for that one.
I really identify with that. I was working in advertising for over 25 years, and the last time I lost my job in advertising, I swore it would be the last time I lost my job in advertising. And to your point, It would have been easier to go back and find a job and do something. And I was freelancing online. But at the same time, all of this social media stuff at the time was happening around me. And people would ask me what I did. And I was like, I think I'm a professional networker, but I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is that all of this activity and people and things I can see that other people can't see because of my LinkedIn group are happening around me. And it's important, and I can't define it. I can't define what my role is in it. I borrowed money from my family to pay my rent. There's no riches there either. I had to pay it back. But what I'm saying is that I took the chance of recognizing that other people were seeing some value in what I was doing. And then I learned how to essentially create a business out of it. But so I really do appreciate your story because it really hits home for me. And I'm glad that you took that chance. And actually, I think I was one of your first clients. Karis came with me to help me promote Project Peacock around the world. And before there was no Drupa in 2020, we were poised to have a Printiverse there. And Karis helped me get appointments all through Europe and really helped me expand my brand there. So thank you so much. And if anyone needs help like that, Karis is a great resource. RL, can you share an experience where investing in resilience and adaptability helped you overcome a significant career setback or challenge?
See, when I was switching over from commercial industry to the packaging, I was facing with multiple challenges because I was not recognized even though I was heading up a operational unit. They said, you are new to this industry and you didn't have anything. Packaging is something totally different and you cannot get adapted to so easily. But I got an opportunity for the flexible unit and I find it really challenging. Like, I don't know what is packaging. I know only technically whatever I have studied in the college. Other than that, I didn't know anything, but I was getting adapted to that industry within 2-3 months, putting up my effort with the support of the team. Entire team was supporting to learn what is plastic, what is package, too technically. But it was a quite 2-3 months the toughest time in my life, like how I'm going to manage this industry. Like, it's a more male oriented area where I was entering as a female head for the region and I didn't know anything. That's a challenge I had. But I made it success after 3 months with the support of the entire team. They are all male, of course. So with the support of them, and I rearranged everything with whatever the knowledge or the plans I had earlier worked out. The same I applied and I made it possible. So you need a little training or a little introduction about the new subject. If anyway you have a, basically you will be you will have some nature within you, like you confident of learning very quickly, or a very dedicated person. You should see into that instead just asking experience, which I hate it. Like, anyone can be trained if a trainer is perfect and get into any industry easily. I want to break that. And we started introducing many people giving training and bringing, and I used to give opportunities to the people who are fresh. I just look into them, whether they have a flexible nature to get adapted with the environment so quickly. That is a very basic thing. If you have this quality, then you can easily get adapted to whichever the segment within in this industry or any industry. But that was a truly proven one from my side. I can proudly say that incident gave me a lot of confidence that I can manage anything, whatever I'm going to face in future. That's one thing I want to share.
Thank you so much. Kelly, I didn't actually put you down for this question, but I'm hoping that you can answer and let us know where investing in resilience and adaptability helped you overcome a significant career setback or challenge.
I mean, what RL just said is pure genius about being adaptable, right? Because as a person who went from, you know, working at Canon Business Solutions, selling production equipment to printers, to 3 short years later having 4 children, I really had to become a time management guru, and really rethink entirely how I was going to make money and what my role was in the industry, because I'd spent, you know, 15 years selling. So I know how to talk to people. I know how to ask good questions. I know how to build trust and confidence. But it really made me re-examine what I was meant for. You know, I really had to kind of pivot to think, how can I build a brand and build a business and also take care of my children and my home and things like that. So that adaptability that RL talked about, and a lot of you alluded to, is entirely crucial, because that's where real change happens. When we can accept that things are different and adapt to them, there's a real opportunity for transformation there. And I think this is a constant. As I mentioned, you know, my conversation with Marilee Clark that I've been having recently, it's really deciding that sometimes a broader, bigger umbrella isn't the way to go. It's about getting way more specific and way more granular. There's coaching, right? But then there's mentorship, which is an element of that. Or there's onboarding, which is a very important element of coaching that's completely different than helping somebody improve performance after 20 years, right? So I think it's entirely about being open and constantly kind of interrogating yourself. What do you like? What are you motivated? What are you afraid of? What's standing in your way? Constant self-interrogation is where transformation happens. So that is, you know, that's something I would kind of offer to everybody, is just to constantly be questioning things and asking yourself, is this the best place for me right now? And Deb, to your point, and to what everybody has said, like, if there's a voice on your shoulder going, go do it for yourself, listen to that voice, listen to it, and then be strategic about it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody told me I was crazy. They're like, you have to get a job. What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know that something is happening, and I have never been on the ground floor of something. And I really think that I am on the ground floor of something now. And, you know, it took me 3 tries before I understood what a hashtag was. I was like, what are you talking about? That thing on a phone, by the way, a telephone is something, not a cell phone. It used to have these, we called it a pound sign on the telephone. So I'm like, I don't understand. So, you know, it was about just taking a chance and knowing that whatever was going on around me, I could figure out how to navigate it in a way that helped other people first. And then that would be the thing that I did, which is why I called myself the intergalactic ambassador, not the supreme ruler, although we know I am the supreme ruler of the Printiverse. Okay, Suchi, can you share can you share a story about a specific investment in self-improvement or skill development that resulted in a significant pay raise or promotion?
Pay raise or promotion. Okay. So, you know, marketing has evolved and seen so much change happen over the last 10, 15 years. I'm sure that everybody around the table knows that and understands that. A couple of years back, you know, data and how to use analytics and data and how to become much more a modern marketer using marketing automation started becoming the primary, you know, driver for a lot of people. It was not something as marketers that we were used to. Marketing was always an art and storytelling and creative. And so I wanted to make sure that I understood this part of marketing too. So I actually invested in doing myself a Google Analytics course and understanding how do you use data How do you actually look at the data? How do you absorb it? What kind of decisions it makes and all of that. And something that I did at Stanford, which happens to be in my backyard, not just Google, but the entire analytics course. It was over 6 months, but it was so worth it because that information frankly got me the job at AWS. AWS is something that is so much data driven, and it's very much a company that is about how do you absorb information, interpret it, and then use that to drive decision making. And I could directly relate to a lot of what I had learned in the course that I did. And so it led me to this new opportunity that happened in AWS, which was honestly a great thing at a great time that happened to me.
And it's Amazon Web. What does the S stand for?
Services, Amazon Web
Services.
Services.
Okay, so that's what AWS is, in case anybody wasn't aware. Pat, same question for you. Can you share a story about a specific investment in self-improvement or skill development that resulted in a significant pay raise or promotion, or however you want to define that?
Yeah, so for me, it's been digging more into two specific areas. One is technical, and so I started seeking out the technical inkjet printhead courses, the technical color management courses, the technical print management courses that are available from a range of providers. And what I decided was not to take just one from one place, but take color management from several organizations to see how they differed, and print head courses from multiple technical providers, because what that does is give me a infrastructure of knowledge that not a lot of people have. I don't care if you're male, you're female, I don't care if you're a dog. It would be hard for you to have the range of experience that I have right now unless you've taken the same path and learned how the printheads get developed, how the waveforms get developed, how the ink gets dropped, all of those things at a very technical level, with the goal of understanding how that impacts print quality for the print buyers who are looking for the best possible product, right? So those things can I do? Draw a one-to-one, ooh, I took this course, ooh, I made this money. No, but I work with every major vendor and printhead vendor in some capacity. And so I don't do the same thing for any two of them. And that's okay. Keeps the NDAs from getting messy. But at the end of the day, that is why I can make myself available for those engagements, because I've done that. And I've done the same thing on the legal front, making sure that sort of from the other side coming in, I understand what laws are hitting our industry. If you think all the Europeans know GDPR and know that in every country, life is just a little different. And so I keep my thumb on the pulse there. And whenever there are courses available on data privacy and those things, there. And then I work very closely with a lawyer who's a friend of mine and keep my fingers on the pulse in the US, because God bless us, 50 states and how many territories? And we all have different laws. So I try to make that information available into those same technical communities who might not have another way to get that information, and it might influence how they develop their software and hardware products.
If the printing industry had a central intelligence agency, I think you might be the, definitely, I don't know if you'd be the director of it, but you would certainly be a member of it. I can't tell you how many times I've been to an event with Pat and I ask a question and she's like, well, when we were developing this press, and I'm like, I'm sorry, when you were developing this press? She's like, I do a lot of things you don't know, Deb. That's when, so there's a
It's
very
1-800-PAT, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is what you've used me for decades.
Yes,
So it's
there's a pretty
the
good
weird
chance,
questions.
there's a pretty good chance that all the technology you use or you have come in contact with in the printing industry, that Pat has had something to do with it, although she will never tell you exactly what it was. Okay, I'm actually going to move to the next question. Ayanfe, what financial goals have you set for yourself in your career, and how have you worked to achieve them? the billionaire printer?
Right. Thank you. Basically, yeah, here in Africa, you have to set goals every now and then so that you'll be able to grow your business, right? So I could remember vividly when we are trying to get some equipment for our business, right? So we have to save and collaborate with some people to be able to get those equipment for the company, right? So basically for me, what I do personally, there are some investment apps that helps us here in Africa, like if they are like fintech companies that they help us business people to save our money, keep our money, and also help us invest it in other countries. And also as a business, we try to collaborate with people, with businesses that are already existing, that are bigger than us, to be able to help us get our equipment down here. Also, we try as much as possible to make sure that we are getting jobs outside our region. For instance, I am in Lagos, Nigeria. Getting jobs outside my region is like, shooting to South Africa, shooting to UK, shooting to Uganda to, start for printing projects for them to be able, so that we can actually give it to them. And also the exchange rate also helps us in growing our business. That's basically it for me. We invest, we collaborate, and we save our money to be able to grow our business. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kelly, can you discuss the importance of mentorship and sponsorship in your career growth and your earning potential?
Oh gosh, I have so much to say about mentorship. But one of the things I've been talking about with a lot of people lately is that while it would seem on its face that the mentee is the one that is the major beneficiary of a mentor-mentee relationship, and that is true, the mentor gets a lot out of it too. All of you that are on this call right now that have ever been a mentor, you know that it's a wildly enriching experience. And that is really not as much to do with age necessarily, but I've been really trying to understand how to differentiate between coaching and mentorship. And so if you think of coaching as more of a kind of a strategic kind of plan implementation engagement, and mentoring is really more of lived experience, sometimes opinion, those kinds of things. I just keep taking on more mentees because it's just a wild ride. I probably have 7 or 8 mentees right now, and I'm just like, give me more. I want the young people. I want to be surrounded by people whose ideas are different than mine, who've had different lived experience than I have. And I will say too, Deb, that early on in my career, I really ignored the advice of people who I considered to be mentors. One who told me that I was not ready to be a sales manager because I hadn't been bloodied up enough yet. And I ignored that advice, and I'm really glad that I did. So I think just generally speaking, it's extremely important to balance advice and information that you get from people in the industry, and temper that with your own gut. Elizabeth Gilbert calls this surveying the monkeys. She's like, are you out there surveying monkeys right now? Because a lot of times I see Pat nodding. It's like, do I need to ask a bunch of people if what I'm thinking inside of my head is the right thing, or do I just do it because I can and I should and I will, right? So, Deb, the end of that question can you just read the end of the question again? Because I feel like I got a little off track.
No, you didn't get off track at all. If mentorship and sponsorship of your career it helped you grow your career, which it did, and the second part was about earning money.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll take you and Bill Farquharson as the 2 best examples of this for me personally, right? You put me in the room at every Project Peacock. right? And so I met people and learned things I never would have experienced if I hadn't said yes to you bringing me along on that ride. So in that regard, that sponsorship and mentorship of you has been a game changer for me because of who I met and experiences that I had throughout that process. It's how I met Karis when we were down in Dallas and we got to go to Clamp It Paper. Clamp It Paper was a transformational experience for me. That was phenomenal. And I think we all have to spend a little time kind of marinating on those moments. They're core memories, right? In the inside out world of Disney movies. Those are core memories and they're core to our career paths. So knowing Deborah, being associated with Bill 100% has altered my career path and my ability to earn money because my partnership with him has given me a visibility and kind of an automatic credibility that I'm only now starting to extract myself out from, right? So my identity, even at my age, my identity, even 30 years in, is going, I'm kind of traversing off on my own now, which he celebrates and I celebrate. And so partnerships like Pat was talking about with her partner and her software company, they happen for a reason and they end for a reason, or they transform for a reason. And so it's almost like we have to hold two things in mind at the same time, which is our independence and our own minds and our own hearts and people that we trust. And so being able to kind of marry those two things together is unbelievably important and very, very often very beneficial.
Thank you so much. So for everybody out there, I'm going to ask the panelists all one more question collectively, and then we're going to open up for an open discussion, at which point we will turn off the recording. So start thinking about your questions, start, thinking about your comments. And this is the last question for everybody. We will start with RL. So how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and unique perspectives to make a positive impact on their organization or the industry in its entirety? RL?
I wanted to try this in our company, currently where I'm working in SGO. I want to bring a new shift for the women, those who are in the middle age or in the career break, those who want to enter to the industry. It's a new shift, like 8:30 to 1:30 timing, without depending on someone else to take care of. This is my personal experience. I will be begging every time someone to please take care, pick up, drop. It's a mother's responsibility more, and I need to balance it. Then I don't say that, but I don't want to depend on anyone. First, I want to manage my profession parallelly. So this one, I feel if I can able to do it in SGO in future, I definitely planning this to break and to give more opportunity to the freshers, those who are really passionate to get into the industry. These two might if I think the women who want to I have reached a level and I want the others also live to the same. And wherever I get opportunity to do this, I will definitely do this and bring more women to the industry.
Thank you so much. Suchi, how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and unique perspectives to make positive impacts on their organizations?
So I think when women enter into anything, there's just a different energy. I find that I work now, unfortunately, in a very male-dominated company. And I feel just my presence in that team is starting to make a difference because we bring a different energy, a different empathy, a different voice. So my advice to whether you're in printing or any other industry, and especially more for printing, which also is parallelly a very male-dominated, a very old network. Everybody knows anybody for God knows how many years, and it's all very close-knit, is to bring your voice, bring your convictions to what you think is right or wrong. I think sometimes coming from an outside perspective, you also bring fresh eyes, you bring innovation, you bring ways to look at things completely differently. Make sure you're always putting that eye on everything you do, not just do because it's the expected thing, but do because, you believe it's right, and always try and bringing that sense of innovation and change. And I think women particularly bring in that innovation and change because we have the ability to reflect, to see, and have the conviction and courage to say what we speak. And so always bring your voice, bring that perspective, bring that empathy and that connection. In this printing industry, my 2 years that I was there, I saw there was a lot of connection all the time, and it was just doing things the way they'd been doing. But I felt there was somewhere a lack of just compassion for people. And I think we as women leaders can bring that into it. So bring that EQ, bring that compassion to the table every time that you can. Um, somebody spoke a lot about mentorship earlier. I think there's so much to do in terms of whether you are mentoring yourself or mentoring others in this industry, men, women, anybody, doesn't matter. But I think that's an important part that women can play as well. We're naturally great at nurturing, and that's something that we bring to the table differently from any other person. And so bring that nurturing spirit to your workplace every day, apart from just your home. So that's some things that I would love to share with all of you.
Thank you so much. Kelly, how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and unique perspectives to make a positive impact?
I did some research on this a couple of years ago for a keynote I was giving at a Women in Print event. And according to the Harvard Business Review and Forbes, women are better. They're better at listening. No surprise there, right? Sorry, Rob. And I know there's a couple other gentlemen on the call, but we are definitely better listeners. We're better finders, right? Anybody who has kids and a husband knows that everybody's like, where's whatever? And you just walk right over to it and pick it up and hand it to the person, even though it was exactly right in front of their face. But really what we're also really good at is collaboration. And that's some of the things that RL was talking about and Suchi was talking about, which is we prove our value by bringing teams together. And in this same article that I just referenced, these two articles, there was a question about what does it mean to be a team player? And women say, being a good team player means helping all of my colleagues with what they need to get things done. That's what women say being a team player is. And a man says, being a good team player means I know my position and I play it well. Like, that's a really big difference. So these are the kinds of things that we should be doubling down on right now. Embrace what makes us different and walk around acting as if we know it makes us better and stronger. And that's what I would really want everybody to leverage and double down on right now, is leverage what makes you, what is different about you, because it really makes you a much stronger leader and a much stronger team player.
Thanks so much. Ayanfe, how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and perspectives to make a positive impact on their companies and organizations?
Oh, thank you. Basically, I believe that women are vulnerable, right? And being vulnerable can actually lead you into a lot of people helping you to solve your problems. Unlike the men, they really don't ask for help, but for women, we ask for a lot of help. So that is a strength. Being vulnerable is a strength, right? So asking for help has actually helped me personally, right? So because I remember at the time in 2020, during the pandemic, I was about to quit the business because we weren't making enough profit as we should. So I joined a particular group at the time. It was just a female entrepreneurs talking about their challenges and what the problem and solutions and how they can solve their problems during the pandemic. asking questions from people that are more knowledgeable has actually helped me. You know, they told me everything they have done to solve their financial crisis at that time. So I was vulnerable to them to ask questions. So being vulnerable is a strength, and we should leverage that to actually grow our business. And also, we are more emotionally attached. So women are emotionally attached. So when a woman is on a job, they are emotionally attached to it. So when it doesn't go well, they it gets to them like personally. They take it personally. So that is also a strength. So it helps us to be able to do the job with all our hearts, So I think that being vulnerable and being empathetic is also a strength for women to grow their business in this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And there's
Yeah.
a contingency from Africa in the chat. So thank you so much for bringing your colleagues to meet everybody today. It's truly appreciated.
Thank you.
Karis,
Thank you.
how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and unique perspectives to make a positive impact on their organizations or in the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key word is women. There's strength in numbers, that it's a collective effort. Every stride that women have made has been, women coming together and saying, this is what needs to change, and we're going to make that change happen, or we're going to push progress forward. So it's similar to my response to another question, and that's your network. Build and invest in your network, build those relationships, attend events, reach out to other people, from this meeting, from this event, or anywhere else who inspire you, or you liked what they said, and you want to have another conversation about it. And when you have that network of strong and successful women in our industry, you build each other up, and you might make a connection elsewhere. Like I said, I would not be where I am without that network that I've built. And I have to say, it's mostly women. There's some amazing men there too, but it just naturally is a fact that it has been more women, and you throw opportunities each other's way, and you say, oh, I want to go for this promotion, or I want to ask for a better salary, salary increase. How can I do that? Should I do that? People are going to encourage you and inspire that confidence, and just help you put yourself out there more, and also just make it fun and enjoyable. We spend so much time working, it might as well be fun, right? It might as well be enjoyable to spend so much of our life on our careers. And I think, again, as other people have said, and as Kelly said so well, that mentorship piece, find ways to support others or ask for help from others. I think that's the thing. We've got to come together. We can't just sit there with our own thoughts about it. It's never going to push things forward unless we speak up and make those connections.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Pat McGrew, how can women in the printing industry leverage their strengths and unique perspectives to make a positive impact on their organizations or the industry in its entirety?
I'm going to come back to something that RL said at the very, very beginning. She said, hey, I'm not a professional speaker. I'm not, I know what I know. I know what my experience is, but I'm not a professional speaker. But RL, you are, because you carry a torch and you carry a passion. And everyone on this panel carries a torch for an industry and for helping people and having conversations that lift people. I made a decision 25 years ago that I was going to say yes to anybody who invited me to stand up and talk in front of people. I'm not afraid of it. I enjoy it. I've talked to audiences of, 2, and I've talked to audiences of tens of thousands. And at the end of the day, the goal is always to educate and inform and share and build new communities of people who are trying to share and educate each other. Anybody who ever needs a speaker, reach out, my answer is always yes, and then we figure out how to fund it, right? We figure that out along the way. But at the end of the day, if everybody takes that attitude, yes, I can stand up and speak to what I know, that is part and parcel of mentoring, right? Because it gives you an opportunity to provide that education and passion into larger groups of people, many of whom may not actually know who you are when you show up at the podium, many of whom may never have heard of you, but because you bring information to them, you become a valuable part of their network, and that expands your visibility, and it puts them in the position of saying, hey, wait, I know somebody who knows that. I know somebody who can do that. And every one of you does it all the time. And I don't care if you think you're a professional speaker, you are, because what you know is needed. So RL, anytime somebody says to you, hey, we'd like somebody to stand up in front of the lunch and learn group over the lunchtime to talk about something important to our business, the answer is always yes. It just should be, because if you do that, slowly but surely, you learn to read audiences and see who's falling asleep and who's not. Happens. For years, the folks at Share and at Guide would put me on either the 7:30 a.m. slot or the right after lunch 1 o'clock slot, because they knew I would wake people up. Right? That was my role. It's like, yeah, the content's good, but we know you'll be excited and you'll wake people up. And that's okay. That's a good reputation to have.
And I just want to answer this question really quickly. I describe myself as an acquired taste. There are some people who get me immediately, and there are some people who are immediately don't want anything to do with me. And then there are some people who are skeptical, and I can either win them over or I don't win them over. But what I've learned is that the biggest strength I have is owning that and being authentic to myself, regardless of the fact that there are some people out there who are just never going to be in Deborah Corn's orbit or on my same page or feel the same way I feel about things or be willing to be outspoken about things that other people won't talk about. But I am willing to lose the thing that I have, which is my connection to all of you, to stay authentic to myself. And it is a risk, but it is something that has had a positive impact on me. And that empowerment is literally what fuels me to organize Girls Who Print and events like this. And I just want to thank everybody so much for joining us, for sharing your time, to the panelists for sharing your information. And until next time, empower long and prosper.